Hello everyone, I'm so happy to be representing Frontier Theater today. At this time I would like to review the history of Frontier Theater and share what we used to do. We began in 1989 with an outdoor play named TVOJ, The Voice of Judea. We actually cleaned out an old barn, which I'm sitting in part of right now, which has been remodeled. And I remember cleaning out about 2 or 3 foot of cow manure and cleaning it out, putting some lights in there and putting some divisions in there, writing a play. And then we had a lot of volunteers to help do it, and we had several hundred people who actually came watch it, and that was our very, very first production. It was a Christmas production, and we did that in December. And then for the next 5 years, we did all different kinds of venues and productions, and we did picnics, we did birthday parties, we did family reunions, we did gospel sings, we did rendezvous, we did weddings, we did Easter egg hunts. The most kids we've ever had on Frontier Theater. One year we had, let me make sure I say this right. Yeah, we had 1,200 kids and 300 parents on an Easter egg hunt. The park was pretty crowded that day. We had a big day. And then we also did other productions. These was plays, The Days of Old, and it was about a Rocky Mountain fur trapping play back in the old days, 1830s. We did Cherokee Holocaust, a story about the true story of the Indians being forced to Oklahoma during the Trail of Tears. We did The Miracle of Mr. Mountain, which was a Christmas play, which is about the 2 orphans struggling for their existence in a hostile environment in the Sierra Mountains. We also did a Civil War play with the Arkansas Yankees, also another Indian play with the Indians through Webster County during the Trail of Tears, and countless other events and venues. Then a big accident kind of came along, and it just fell into it. In 1994, our focus changed, once again, just kind of by an accident. School teacher called up one day saying, "Hey Roger, I wonder if I could bring out some school kids on a field trip." Well, we'd never done a so-called field trip before. So she brought out 2 classes, I think, and I asked her, "What are we supposed to do on a field trip for a school? What do you want me to do?" He said, "Well, you do the 1800s and the pioneer stuff." I said, "Yeah, we do that. That's pretty simple to do." And so I brought the horses out, and some of the kids rode a horse, some of the kids threw a tomahawk, and we did all, and we shot black powder guns, and we did all kinds of stuff with them. We really did have a good time. We also shot bows and arrows and what have you. So when the kids went back, I asked the teacher, was there, yeah, the kids really, really like it. They want to come back, and I'm going to tell some other teachers. Well, that very, very first year, we ended up with 1,500 kids our first year, and all we had to work with was an old, yucky old barn that we cleaned the manure out, put a few lights in, and when they had to eat their lunches on the grass and everything else, and we went under the trees and set up some little tents and things, and that's all we had to work with that very first year. But we got through it, and then the next year I think we built a couple little structures around. And so until 1994, until COVID broke out, we did field trips. And we did field trips 5 days a week. We would do 1,000 kids a week. That was very common. Some schools would bring out as many as 375 kids in just one day alone. We'd divide them up, and they'd come busload after busload after busload. They'd come in. Every teacher got an itemized schedule, and we divided them up, and away we went. But I want to stress over and over again. Frontier Theater was made possible because of wonderful, wonderful people who came here working the stations that made it possible. We had a Civil War specialist. His name was Captain Bob. He could recite anything about the Civil War and all kinds of stuff. He's a walking historian. We also had the world famous Mount Manless. He could make fires, arrowheads, ancient skills of all kinds. He could make metallurgy. He could do blacksmithing, flint knapping, just an amazing person with incredible skills. We also had White Dove at the Indian Village, which she just absolutely razzle-dazzled the kids, and the kids all loved her. We had Miss Desi with the clay. We had Sister Sue. We had we had Grandma Betty, Miss Connie, and so many others who made Frontier Theater possible. And so, and the kids really loved them, and they loved the kids too. And that's what made Frontier Theater go. And then Our focus for doing school trips, field trips, was Missouri Ozark history featuring Native American skills, early settler adventures, and Civil War reenactments, first person, present tense. We also had an urban homestead. We also did old-fashioned games. We also had a big slide, the zip line, tug of war, hunting for gold, and we had all kinds of other stuff too. And so we had more things to do than possible the kids could do every day. However, after COVID, it shut the park down as far as doing all that. And so here we've been sitting here twiddling our thumbs and what to do. And so after much prayer and consideration and thought and, staying up at night wondering what to do, so we have decided to start for the future. We realize that technology is the future of Frontier Theater. So we're going to start making YouTube productions and start doing a whole bunch of uploads. And so I hope I said that word right, because I am not a technology person. And so our new focus for the YouTube and the future in behalf of Frontier Theater is going to be old-fashioned culture and lifestyles. Now remember, I'm an old man. I was raised in the 50s and 60s. And then I know people who was raised in the 20s and 30s that are still alive. We can go back into the past and relive those wonderful days when men were still men, women were still women, and kids could still act like kids. And we're going to have more fun than you can possibly imagine. So you want to make sure you subscribe and keep watching this, because we're going to have a whole bunch of really, really neat uploads in the future. Now, before closing out, however, got to end on at least one story. Now, for those who have been to Frontier Theater, you know I love to tell stories. I make up a whole bunch of them, but some of them are actually true. And every day at Frontier Theater, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, was a brand new story. Something happened every day, and I got a whole ton of them, but I'm just going to tell you one today. I'll tell you some more in the future. I want to tell you a story about the snake in the restroom at Frontier Theater. One day, there was a school teacher came up to me and said, "Roger, Roger, Roger." A little girl came up to me and said she's scared to death and she's screaming and yelling out of the bathroom. She's horrified, said that there's a snake in the toilet. And I'm thinking, yeah. I didn't believe her. I know what you're thinking. I went up there and I thought, there's a big old snake in the toilet, and I flushed it and it disappeared. I said, okay, well just shut the door. We just don't go in there anymore. I said, okay. So after they all left, after the buses left that day, I went in the bathroom and I flushed it and it wouldn't flush, and son of a gun, a big old snake popped out. I tried to grab it, but it got away from me. And I said, okay, Mr. Snake, I'm going to get you. So I got me a gallon of bleach, poured a whole gallon down there, and I flushed it 5 or 6 times. And I said, well, Mr. Snake is bye-bye. He'll never be back again. Okay, so the next day we have a couple more 100 kids coming into the park. I'm inside here, the famous way station stage, talking to the world-famous Mountain Man Les. And we always go over the schedule together and what groups and what time and how many sessions you're going to have. And I went over all the park employees like that. And so and the lady comes to the door that was taking care of all the bathrooms, because we had our bathroom crystal clean, clear. I mean, they was always bleached, always super duper clean. And she came to the door and said, "Roger," she was mad. She said, "Roger, did you know about the snake in the bathroom?" So I said, oh no, I'm in trouble. So I kind of stammered and stuttered. I said, well, you did know what it was, didn't you? Well, I couldn't say yes because I thought I got rid of it, and I couldn't say no because I knew there was one. I said, okay, no problem. So world famous Mountain Man Les, go out and get me a stick about this long that's got a little hook on it, and we'll take care of that snake. We'll just dig that thing out. So I went to the bathroom, and I stuck my hand down the poop chute. Oh, I could feel that old snake all right. Oh, and I thought, man, I hope it's not a water moccasin that's going to get me bit. I'm going to die here today before the school kids come here. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But I can't show any fear, though. I was scared to death, actually, but I didn't show any fear, because you can't, because you got to keep things going. So hand me that stick, and I got that stick, and I started twisting, it had a hook on it. And all of a sudden, I knew I had it grabbed, and I took the equivalent of about probably 20 pounds of pressure, pulling pressure on that snake. What seemed like a year was probably 45 seconds. All of a sudden, phew, out come the snake. It was a 4-foot black snake, came flipping through the door, and the ladies and the helpers that were there, they got out of the way real quick, and the snake fell down. They screamed and hollered, and they took off, and there was the snake out of the toilet, and everybody's happy, and they're scared to death, and went out, and Frontier Theater continued on that day, and we had 5 buses rolling in that day, and no one knew the difference about the snake that was in the toilet from the day before. That's just one story, and I've got a whole bunch more I can tell you too someday. Now, we're going to end this today with one more thing, and this is pretty sentimental to me. This is pretty serious. Every day I did Frontier Theater, there's something special that really meant a lot to me. I was always a Bonanza fan. If you ever watched Bonanza, you know that Lauren Green, took his gun belt off, put it on the wall, and come inside a lot of times. And so every day, I always wore two belts of guns. I always did that. One on the right, one on the left, because I'm a right and left person either. I'm a person that can go either right or left, makes no difference. So I always had 2 big weapons on me. And so I always would take my guns off, hang them on the wall, and I always had this thought for years and years and years. I wonder if this is the day is going to be the last day I take my guns off. That'd be so sad. That'd be so sad. Oh, it's going to break my heart when I think about that. Little did I know that the fall before COVID started out the next year, next spring, I had put my gun up. I thought maybe that was the last time I put my gun up. Oh, I've been really heartbroken over that. But you know what? In behalf of modern technology and because of YouTube and other social platforms that we're blessed enough to have today, we can come right into your classroom and we can continue Frontier Theater via the internet and a platform such as YouTube. So right now, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put the gun back on. We'll put the gun back on. Folks, the gun's back on Frontier Theater again. We're back in business. And make sure you subscribe and make sure you keep looking at us because we're going to have more fun than you can possibly imagine. Because remember, Frontier Theater is home of happy land where every day's a great day and the worst days are fantastic. And we'll see you later. Thank you.